The giant metal doors of the Galactic Council Chamber opened with a deep rumbling sound. Lisa Grant walked through them, her black shoes clicking on the smooth floor. Behind her came Admiral Jack Morrison and Diplomat Karen Wells. The three humans looked small in the massive room that could hold thousands of beings. 40-7 different alien species sat in curved rows that went up to the ceiling. Some looked like giant insects with many eyes. Others were made of what seemed like living crystal that glowed with different colors. There were creatures that looked like they were made of gas, floating in clear containers, and robots with red lights for eyes. Lisa felt the weight of their stares as she walked to the center of the room. She had been Earth's ambassador to the galaxy for 5 years, but she had never seen so many aliens in one place, looking so serious. The High Chancellor of the Zephyrians stood up. Its body was like a tall crystal tower that pulsed with blue light. When it spoke, the words came from speakers all around the room because it did not have a mouth like humans. Humans of Earth, the Chancellor said, you have been called here to receive our final offer. Your species has grown too fast and spread to too many worlds. This cannot continue. Lisa looked up at the alien leader. We are listening. The Galactic Council has decided to offer you protection. You will give us all your military ships. You will let us watch over all your colonies. You will agree to have no more than 10 billion humans alive at any time. In return, Earth will be safe under our care. The room was completely quiet. Lisa could hear her own heartbeat. She looked back at Admiral Morrison. His gray hair was cut short like a soldier's, and his face showed no fear. Karen Wells, the diplomat, gave her a small nod. Lisa turned back to face the council. We thank you for thinking of our safety, but we must say no to your offer. A sound like thunder filled the room as aliens made noises of shock. Some clicked their claws. Others flashed bright colors. The gas creatures swirled faster in their containers. The Veltar ambassador waved its long tentacles in the air. No species has ever rejected our protection before. Do you not understand what we are offering? Admiral Morrison stepped forward. He was 60 years old and had fought in 3 wars. We understand perfectly. You want us to give up our freedom so you can control us. Control? The Chancellor's blue light turned red. We offer peace. We offer safety. We offer a place in the galactic community. At what price? Morrison asked. You want us to destroy our own ships. You want to tell us how many children we can have. You want to control our colonies. That is not peace, that is slavery. A robot delegate with glowing red eyes spoke in a voice like a machine. Your species is dangerous. You fight wars with each other. You destroy your own planet. You need guidance. Karen Wells spoke for the first time. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes, but we learned from them. We grew stronger. We became better. That is what humans do. The Chancellor's color changed to a darker red. You do not understand. Every species in this galaxy accepted our offer. The Creever were warriors like you. They said no at first. We had to destroy half their worlds before they agreed to join us. Lisa felt a chill run down her back, but she kept her voice steady. Then you will have to try to destroy ours too, because our answer is still no. The alien with tentacles made a hissing sound. You have 200 ships. We have 50,000. You have 3 worlds with people. We control 800 systems. How can you think you can fight us? Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. You're right about the numbers. But you forget something important. Humans have been fighting impossible battles our whole history. We fought ice ages when we barely had fire. We fought diseases that killed millions. We fought wars against enemies with better weapons and more soldiers. And we're still here. This is different, said a creature that looked like a giant bug. This is Space War. This is technology you cannot match. Maybe, Morrison said. But here's what you don't understand about humans. When someone tells us we can't do something, we want to do it even more. When someone says we have no choice, we make our own choices. When someone threatens us, we don't back down. We fight back. The Chancellor's light was now a deep, angry red. You are making a mistake that will cost your species everything. Lisa stepped forward again. Maybe we are, but it will be our mistake to make. We would rather die free than live as your pets. The room exploded with noise as aliens talked to each other in dozens of different languages. Some were clicking. Some were buzzing. Some were making sounds like music. But Lisa could tell they were all saying the same thing. They were shocked. They could not believe that humans were saying no. The Chancellor raised its arms, and the room became quiet again. Very well. You have chosen your path. The Council will remember this day. You have 1 month to change your minds. After that, we will do what we must do to bring peace to this galaxy. Lisa looked around the room one more time. 47 alien species stared back at her. Most looked angry. Some looked confused, but a few, she noticed, looked something else. They looked interested, maybe even impressed. We will not change our minds, she said. Humans choose their own destiny. The 3 humans turned and walked toward the door. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. As they reached the exit, Admiral Morrison stopped and looked back. One more thing, he called out. You might have 50,000 ships, but we have something you don't. What is that? The Chancellor asked. Morrison's smile was real this time. We have nothing left to lose. The doors closed behind them with a boom that seemed to shake the entire station. Captain Ryan Davis stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, looking out at the stars through the large window. His ship was far from Earth, exploring the edge of human space. The Horizon was not a warship. It was built to find new worlds and study them. Captain, called Maria Santos from her station. She was the chief engineer, a woman who could fix anything that broke on the ship. I'm getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors. Ryan walked over to her station. What kind of readings? Ships, lots of them. Moving in formation about 20 light years from here. Maria pointed to her screen. But they're not human ships. Ben Parker, the science officer, looked up from his computer. I can confirm that. The energy signatures match Council species. But there are way more ships than usual. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. It had been 3 months since Ambassador Grant had told the Council no. 3 months of waiting to see what would happen next. How many ships? Hard to tell at this distance. Ben said, but at least 500. Maybe more. 500? Maria whistled. That's not a patrol. That's a fleet. Ryan walked back to his captain's chair and pressed a button. Communications. Get me a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. Priority 1. While his crew worked to establish contact with Earth, Ryan thought about what this meant. The Council had never sent so many ships to one place before. They didn't need to. Most species gave up without a fight when they saw just a few Council vessels. Channel open, Captain, said the communications officer. Earth Defense Command. This is Captain Davis on the UES horizon. We have detected a large alien fleet moving through the outer rim. Sending coordinates and sensor data now. General Paul Turner's voice came through the speakers. Received, Captain Davis. How large is this fleet? At least 500 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're moving toward the inner systems. There was a long pause. Captain, return to Earth. Immediately. We need every ship we can get. Understood, sir. Setting course for Earth. Ryan turned to his crew. You heard the General. Maria, how fast can we get home? If I push the engines, We can make it in 4 days, she said. Do it. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Nicole Adams sat in the White House Situation Room. The room was full of her top advisors, military leaders, and scientists. Everyone looked worried. General Turner stood at the front of the room next to a large screen showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked where council fleets had been spotted. Madam President, Turner said, we now have confirmation of at least 16 separate fleets moving toward human space. Our best estimate is 2,000 ships total. President Adams rubbed her forehead. She had been president for 2 years, but nothing had prepared her for this. 2,000? How many ships do we have? 212 combat-ready vessels, said Secretary of Defense Amy Chun, plus about 50 ships that could fight if we had to use them. So we're outnumbered 10 to 1, the president said. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Helen Cross, a scientist who studied alien life, raised her hand. Madam President, I think I can help explain what we're facing. Go ahead, Doctor. I've been studying Council military history for years. They've never faced real resistance before. When they want to control a species, they just show up with a big fleet. The other species take one look at all those ships and surrender immediately. But we're not going to surrender, General Turner said. Exactly. And that's what has them scared. They don't know how to fight a real war. They only know how to intimidate. President Adams leaned forward. What does that mean for us? It means they're probably planning to use overwhelming force to end this quickly. They want to shock us into giving up. Will it work? Asked Amy Chun. Dr. Cross smiled. They clearly don't know much about humans. On Mars, Colony Administrator Steve Miller was having his own emergency meeting. Mars was humanity's second most important world, with 5 million people living there. It was also where humans mined the rare metals needed to build spaceships. We need to prepare for the worst, Steve told his department heads. If Earth falls, Mars becomes the center of human resistance. Dr. Kate Brown, who ran the mining operations, spoke up. We can increase metal production by 40% if we switch to emergency protocols, but we'll need more workers. Do it, Steve said, and start moving non-essential personnel to the underground cities. If the Council attacks, they'll probably try to bomb us from orbit. What about the other colonies? Asked Security Chief Dave Wilson. I've been in contact with New Haven and Centauri Station. They're preparing too. We're setting up a communication network that the Council can't easily cut off. Back on Earth, Admiral Linda Hayes stood in the command center of the Orbital Defense Station. She was in charge of protecting Earth from attack. Through the windows, she could see the blue and green planet below. Admiral, called Commander Tony Rogers, we're getting reports from our scout ships. The first Council fleets will reach the edge of our solar system in 6 days. 6 days? Linda repeated. Are our defenses ready? The orbital platforms are armed and ready. We have mine fields around the major shipping lanes. Fighter squadrons are on standby. What about the new weapons Dr. Foster has been working on? Tony looked at his tablet. He says the first batch will be ready in 3 days, but he's never tested them in real combat. Linda nodded. Dr. Alex Foster was Earth's top weapons designer. If anyone could give them an edge, it was him. Get me a channel to all defense stations, Linda said. It's time to address the troops. A few minutes later, Linda was speaking to every human military unit in the solar system. Her voice was calm and strong. People of Earth, in 6 days we will face the greatest challenge in human history. The aliens think they can scare us into surrender. They think we'll give up our freedom to save our lives. They're wrong. She paused and looked out at Earth again. Our ancestors faced impossible odds before. They fought with sticks and stones, against predators with claws and fangs. They crossed oceans in tiny boats. They built cities in deserts and jungles. They never gave up, and neither will we. Throughout human space, people listened to their admiral's words. On ships, in space stations, in underground bunkers, humans prepared for war. The Council has ships and technology, Linda continued, but we have something they don't understand. We have the will to fight for what's ours. We have the courage to stand up to bullies. We have each other. When the broadcast ended, everyone went back to work. There was so much to do and so little time, but nobody complained. Nobody asked why they couldn't just give the Council what it wanted. They were human, and humans don't surrender. Fleet Admiral Linda Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching her screens as thousands of alien ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Council fleet was bigger than anything she had ever seen. Ships stretched across, space like a metal wall blocking out the stars. "My God," whispered her second-in-command, Captain Susan Blake. "There are so many of them." Linda counted the ships on her display. 2,043 vessels. Some were as big as cities. Others moved in groups like schools of fish. All of them had their weapons pointed toward Earth. All human ships. "This is Admiral Hayes," she said into her radio. "Remember the plan. We're not going to fight them ship to ship. We can't win that way. We fight smart." The Council fleet moved slowly toward Earth, like they had all the time in the world. They probably thought the humans would surrender as soon as they saw how outnumbered they were. They were wrong. Commander Tony Rogers was hiding behind an asteroid with 12 small, fast ships. His vessels were painted black and carried new stealth, technology that made them hard to see on enemy sensors. "Wait for it," Tony whispered to his pilots. "Let them get closer." The main Council fleet passed by the asteroid field without stopping. They didn't think humans would hide ships in such a dangerous place. But humans had been flying through asteroid fields since they first left Earth. "Now," Tony said. His 12 ships shot out from behind the rocks like bullets. They moved fast and quiet, heading for the back of the Council fleet, where the supply ships were kept. The Council had never fought an enemy that attacked their supply lines. In all their wars, other species just lined up their ships and fought, until one side was destroyed. But humans had learned long ago that you don't just fight the enemy's army. You fight everything that keeps the army going. Tony's ships hit 3 supply vessels before the aliens even knew they were under attack. The supply ships exploded in bright flashes that could be seen across the solar system. "Direct hits," called out Lieutenant Dan Clark from his fighter. Enemy supplies destroyed. But the Council fleet was already turning around to chase them. Hundreds of alien fighters poured out of the big ships like angry bees. "All ships scatter," Tony ordered. "Use the asteroids for cover." The human pilots dove into the asteroid field, weaving between rocks at speeds that would have scared most aliens. But humans had been flying dangerous missions since they learned to leave their planet. The alien fighters followed, but they were not used to flying in such tight spaces. Several crashed into asteroids. Others got lost in the maze of rocks. Meanwhile, on the other side of the solar system, Captain Susan Blake was leading her own attack. She commanded the carrier UES Liberty and 6 other ships loaded with fighters. "Launch." "All fighters," Susan ordered. "Attack pattern Delta." 200 human fighters shot out of their ships and spread across space in a formation the aliens had never seen before. Instead of flying straight at the enemy, they moved in spirals and curves, making it hard for alien gunners to hit them. The Council ships tried to respond, but their rigid military training had not prepared them for such chaos. Their commanders kept shouting orders, but the fast-moving human fighters were already gone by the time the orders reached the gunners. Dr. Alex Foster watched the battle from his laboratory on Earth's moon. He had worked for months to create new weapons that could hurt the Council ships. Now it was time to test them. "Fire the gravity bombs," he told his assistant. 3 missiles shot up from the moon's surface. They looked like normal rockets, but inside each one was a device that could create a small black hole for just a few seconds. The missiles reached the eyes, Council fleet, and exploded. Instead of fire and metal, they created tears in space itself. 3 large Council ships were pulled apart by forces they had never encountered before. "It works," Alex said with excitement. The gravity bombs actually work. But the Council was learning too. Their commanders began to adapt to human tactics. They split their fleet into smaller groups and started hunting the human ships more carefully. Admiral Hayes watched from her command ship as the battle spread across the solar system. "They're getting smarter," she said to Captain Blake. "So are we," Susan replied. "Look at Sector 7. In Sector 7, Commander Gary Hughes was leading a group of human ships in a fighting retreat toward Mars. The aliens chased him, thinking they had trapped a small human force. But Gary was leading them into a trap. Hidden among the asteroids near Mars were mines that Dr. Foster had invented. They were invisible to alien sensors, but would explode when enemy ships got close. Council ships followed Gary right into the minefield. Explosions lit up space as dozens of alien vessels were destroyed or damaged. "Got them," Gary said with satisfaction. But here comes the second wave. More Council ships were approaching. Fast. Gary's force was outnumbered 5-1, but he had one more trick to try. "All ships, ram attack pattern," he ordered. His pilots looked at their screens in shock. Ram attack meant flying straight at enemy ships and crashing into them. It was suicide. "Sir," called Lieutenant Emma Lewis, "are you sure about this?" "Trust me," Gary said. "Set your ships to autopilot and eject at the last second. Let the ships hit them while you escape in your pods." It was a crazy plan. No alien species had ever tried anything like it. But humans had been doing crazy things to win battles for thousands of years. The human ships accelerated toward the alien fleet. At the last moment, the pilots ejected in escape pods while their ships continued forward on auto-pilot. 20 human ships smashed into the Council formation. The aliens were so surprised that they didn't even try to dodge. When the explosions cleared, 40 Council ships were destroyed or too damaged to fight. The escape pods were picked up by rescue ships that had been waiting nearby. Most of the human pilots survived. "Impossible," said the Zephyrian admiral commanding. "The Council fleet. They destroyed their own ships just to hurt us. What kind of species does that?" His aide, a creature with tentacles, waved them nervously. "A species that values victory more than individual survival, sir." "But that's insane. No rational being would make such a choice. Maybe that's why we've never encountered anything like them before." The battle continued for hours. Human ships darted in and out of the Council formation, hitting fast and running away. They used every trick they could think of, hiding behind planets, bouncing laser beams off mirrors, even ramming asteroids into enemy ships. By the end of the day, the Council had lost over 300 ships. The humans had lost only 50, but each loss hurt them more because they had so few ships to begin with. As night fell on Earth, Admiral Hayes looked at the tactical display. The Council fleet was still there, still massive, still dangerous. But they were no longer moving forward with confidence. For the first time in their history, the Council was learning what it meant to fight an enemy that refused to give up. "They'll try something different tomorrow," Hayes told her staff. "They know now that this won't be easy." Captain Blake nodded. "Let them come. We'll be ready." Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in space, blue and beautiful and still free. The first day of war was over, but the real fight was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the war began. Ambassador Lisa Grant sat in a dark room on a space station far from Earth. She was no longer wearing her fancy diplomat clothes. Instead, she wore simple gray clothing that helped her blend in with the crowds on alien worlds. "The message went out 3 hours ago," said Captain Jake Thompson, who had been running secret missions behind enemy lines. "We've made contact with rebel groups on 12 different worlds." Lisa looked at the star map on the table. Red marks showed Council-controlled systems. But now there were yellow marks too, places where other alien species were starting to fight, back against the Council. "Tell me about the Kreevar," Lisa said. Jake smiled. "They're warriors, just like the Council said, but they hate being controlled." When they heard that humans were still fighting after 6 months, some of their clans started asking questions. What kind of questions? Questions like, why do we have to obey the Council? Why can't we make our own choices? Why did we give up so easily when the humans refused to give up at all? Lisa felt hope growing in her chest. Are they willing to help us? 3 clans have already stopped sending ships to fight humans. They're claiming their ships are needed for defense of their home worlds, but really, they're preparing to rebel. Meanwhile, near Proxima Station, Commander Gary Hughes was fighting the most important battle of his life. The Council had sent their best fleet to capture the station, which was humanity's main base outside the solar system. Gary had only 30 ships to defend against 300 alien vessels. Most military experts would say it was impossible. But Gary had learned that humans could do impossible things when they had to. "All ships, defensive formation Alpha," Gary ordered. "Stay close to the station. Use its weapons to help us." The alien fleet approached slowly and carefully. They had learned not to underestimate humans after 6 months of losses. But they still had overwhelming numbers. "Here they come," called Lieutenant Nancy Price from her fighter. "Looks like they're trying to surround us." "Let them," Gary said. "Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to survive it and make them pay a price they won't forget." The battle began with a massive barrage from the Council ships. Energy beams and missiles filled space like a deadly storm. But the humans had prepared for this. The station's shields held, and the human ships darted between the beams like fish swimming through a net. Every time they found an opening, they struck back hard. Gary's ship, the U.S. Courage, dove under a massive alien cruiser and fired all its weapons at the enemy's engines. The alien ship lost power and began to drift helplessly. "Direct hit," Gary reported. "Enemy cruiser disabled." But more ships kept coming. The aliens seemed to have unlimited numbers, while every human ship lost was one they couldn't replace. "Commander," called his communications officer, "I'm getting a strange message. It's from an alien ship, but they're speaking English." "Put it through," Gary said. A rough voice came over the radio. "Human Commander, this is War Chief Crack of the Kreevar clan Bloodfang. We have been watching your fight." Gary wasn't sure what to say. "The Kreevar were supposed to be fighting for the Council. Are you here to attack us?" "No, human. We are here to learn. You have been fighting for 6 months against impossible odds. You have not surrendered. You have not broken. This is impressive. Thank you," Gary said, still confused. "The Council told us you were weak. They said you would surrender quickly like all the others, but they lied. You fight with honor. You fight like true warriors." Gary watched his tactical display as more Kreevar ships approached the battle. But instead of attacking the humans, they stopped and watched. "We will not help the Council today," War Chief Crack said. "We want to see how this battle ends." The Council commander, a Zephyrian admiral, sent angry messages to the Kreevar ships. "You are ordered to attack the humans immediately." "We are warriors, not slaves," Crack replied. We fight when we choose to fight. Word of the Kreeverse refusal to fight spread quickly through the Council fleet. Other alien crews began to wonder why they were risking their lives to conquer a species that had done nothing to hurt them. On Earth, Dr. Helen Cross was studying reports from the front lines. As humanity's expert on alien psychology, she had been tracking changes in enemy behavior. "President Adams," she said during a video call, "something important is happening. The Council's forces are showing signs of doubt." President Nicole Adams leaned forward in her chair. "What kind of doubt?" "Desertion rates are up. Several alien species have recalled their fleets, claiming they need them for home defense. And we're getting reports of actual mutinies on some Council ships." "Mutinies?" "Yes. Alien crew members refusing to follow orders. Some have even tried to contact us directly to ask for safe passage if they want to surrender." President Adams felt a spark of hope. "So our resistance is working?" "Better than working. It's inspiring other species to resist too. The Council built their power on fear. But fear only works when people believe they have no choice. We've shown the galaxy that there's always a choice." Back at Proxima Station, the battle was reaching its climax. Gary's force was down to 15 ships, but they had destroyed over 100 Council vessels. More importantly, half the alien fleet had stopped fighting and was just watching. "Commander Hughes," came another alien voice over the radio. "This is Captain Zix of the Veltar Merchant Guild. We surrender to you." "You what?" Gary asked. "We surrender. We do not wish to fight beings who show such courage. We ask for safe passage away from this battle." Gary looked at his crew in amazement. An alien ship was surrendering to him. In all the history of galactic warfare, aliens had never surrendered to what they considered a primitive species. "Permission granted," Gary said. "Leave the battle area, and you will not be harmed." The Veltar ship turned and flew away. Then another alien ship asked for safe passage. Then another dot. By the end of the day, only 50 Council ships remained in the fight. The rest had either been destroyed, damaged, or had simply left. "This is impossible," the Zephyrian admiral said to his staff. "How can primitive humans make our allies abandon us?" His aide's crystal body flickered with nervous colors. "Perhaps they are not as primitive as we thought, sir. They have no advanced technology. Their ships are inferior to ours. Their weapons are weaker. But they have something else, sir. Something we don't understand." "What?" "They believe in what they're fighting for. Really believe in it. Our troops fight because they're ordered to. The humans fight because they choose to." As news of the Battle of Proxima Station spread across the galaxy, more species began to question the Council's authority. The Kreever officially withdrew from the war. The Veltar declared neutrality. 3 other species recalled their fleets. A secret rebel base. Lisa Grant met with representatives from 6 different alien species. They all wanted the same thing: freedom from Council control. "The humans have shown us that resistance is possible," said a Kreeva warrior. "Now we must show ourselves that we are worthy of freedom." "What do you need from us?" Lisa asked. "Nothing," said a Veltar trader. "You have already given us the most important thing. You have given us hope." The war was far from over, but something had changed. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was afraid. Their empire, built on the belief that resistance was futile, was starting to crack. And at the heart of it all were humans, stubborn, brave, impossible humans who simply refused to give up. The tide was turning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber was not the same place it had been 8 months ago. Half the seats were empty. The aliens who remained looked scared and angry. Some were arguing loudly. Others sat in silence, their strange faces showing worry. Zephyrian High Chancellor's crystal body flickered between red and purple, colors that meant deep stress in their species. "Order!" it shouted through the speakers. We must have order. But there was no order. The carefully controlled galaxy that the Council had ruled for 1,000 years was falling apart. 17 more systems declared independence yesterday. Reported a nervous aid. The humans have inspired rebellions on 43 worlds. Our forces are spread too thin to stop them all. The Veltar representative, one of the few who remained loyal to the Council, waved its tentacles frantically. How did this happen? They are just one species. One backward, primitive species. A species that has been fighting us for 8 months and still refuses to surrender, said the robotic Nexus delegate. Its red lights blinked rapidly, a sign of computational overload. Our war models never predicted this outcome. The Chancellor turned its attention to the military reports on the main screen. The numbers were terrible. The Council had lost 6,000 ships. Entire fleets had mutinied or simply disappeared. Dozens of species had withdrawn from the war. And still, the humans fought on. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the largest human fleet ever assembled. 200 ships from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies moved in formation toward the Council's main base at Nexus Prime. Admiral, called Captain Emma Lewis, were getting messages from rebel fleets. The Creever are attacking Council positions. In the northern spiral, the Veltar rebels have taken 3 supply stations. Even some of the gas creatures from the Nebula worlds are joining the fight. Morrison smiled. 8 months ago, humans had faced this war alone. Now they led a coalition of dozens of species, all fighting for the same thing: freedom. Signal. All human ships, Morrison said. Today, we finish what we started. On Nexus Prime, the Council was meeting in emergency session. The giant space station that had been the center of galactic government for centuries was now surrounded by rebel fleets. We must negotiate, said the Veltar representative. The situation has become impossible. Negotiate? The Chancellor's color turned bright red. We do not negotiate with primitives. They are not primitives, said a small alien that looked like a walking crystal. They have taught half the galaxy to fight. They have destroyed our authority. They have made us look weak. Because we are weak, said another voice. Everyone turned to look. It was one of the younger council members, representing a species that had joined only 50 years ago. We rule through fear, the young alien continued. But fear only works when people believe they have no choice. The humans have shown everyone that there is always a choice. The Chancellor's form blazed with angry light. Silence. The humans will be crushed. Order will be restored. But even as it spoke, alarms began to sound throughout the station. The human fleet had arrived. Admiral Morrison stood before a communication screen showing the council chamber. Behind him, the combined rebel fleets filled space like a new constellation. Members of the Galactic Council, he said, his voice calm and steady. My name is Admiral Jack Morrison of Earth. I speak for the free species of this galaxy. The Chancellor's color shifted to deep purple. You dare demand our surrender? I'm not demanding anything, Morrison replied. I'm offering you something. You never offered us. A choice. What choice? Asked the Veltar representative. You can step down peacefully and allow each species to govern itself. Or you can continue this war and watch your empire crumble around you. But either way, the age of council control is over. The chamber erupted in noise as the remaining council members argued among themselves. Some wanted to fight to the end. Others wanted to negotiate. A few quietly began planning their escape. You cannot govern yourselves, the Chancellor said finally. Without the Council, there will be chaos. Wars between species. Destruction across the galaxy. Morrison shook his head. Maybe, or maybe we'll learn to work together as equals instead. Of rulers and subjects, the humans are willing to try. And if you're wrong, If the galaxy tears itself apart, then that will be our choice to make, our mistakes to learn from, our problems to solve. Morrison's eyes were steady and sure. That's what freedom means. Ambassador Lisa Grant, now standing beside Morrison, stepped forward. The Rebel Alliance offers this proposal: complete independence for all species, a new council made up of equals, not rulers, and a promise that no species will ever again be forced to give up their freedom for the promise of safety. Hours passed. As the council debated, outside, the rebel fleets waited. They had learned patience from the humans, along with courage. Finally, the Chancellor spoke. Its color had faded to a pale blue, the color of defeat. The council ... accepts your terms. The chamber fell silent. After 1,000 years of absolute rule, the Galactic Council had surrendered, but Morrison wasn't finished. There's one more thing. We want to guarantee that this will never happen again. Every species will have the right to defend itself. Every world will choose its own path. And who will enforce this guarantee? Asked the Veltar representative. All of us, Morrison said, together, as equals. 1 year later, Captain Emma Lewis commanded the first joint patrol of the new Galactic Alliance. Her crew included humans, Creever warriors, Veltar traders, and even some former Council species who had chosen to join the Alliance. Captain, called her Creever second officer, we're approaching the border of the old Council space. Everything looks peaceful. Emma smiled. The galaxy was different now. Instead of one giant empire controlled by fear, there were hundreds of independent worlds working together by choice. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts and problems. But they were problems that free people could solve together. Any word from the exploration fleets? Emma asked. 3 new habitable worlds discovered this week, reported her Veltar navigator. And the humans have shared their terraforming technology with anyone who wants it. That was the human way, Emma thought. They didn't try to control other species or force them to follow human rules. They just offered to help and let others choose. Back on Earth, President Adams was meeting with ambassadors from across the galaxy. The old council building had been turned into a museum. The new Alliance headquarters was smaller, simpler, and open to everyone. The humans have given us something we had forgotten existed, said the HFY War chief, who had first refused. To fight at Proxima Station. They have given us back our dignity. We didn't give you anything, President Adams replied. We just reminded you that it was always yours to take. Dr. Helen Cross, now the Alliance's chief advisor on interspecies relations, looked up from her reports. The psychological changes across the galaxy are remarkable. Depression rates are down. Creativity is up. Even birth rates are increasing on worlds that choose to have children. What does that mean? Asked the president. It means that species are no longer just surviving. They're living. They're hoping for the future again. That evening, as Earth's sun set over the rebuilt cities, children in schools across the planet learned about the war that had changed everything. They learned about courage and choice and the importance of never giving up. But most importantly, they learned that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating your enemies, but from showing them a better way to live. The Council had frozen in fear because they couldn't understand humans. They couldn't understand a species that would rather die free than live as slaves. They couldn't understand people who fought not to conquer others, but to remain unconquered themselves. In the end, that misunderstanding had saved the galaxy. Because when humans rejected the Council's offer of peace through submission, they offered something better in return, peace through freedom. And that was a kind of peace worth fighting for.